know it's been a long, long time since you left Coronation
20
Street.
years.
But it's a kind of go-to. You still get people stopping you in the street, don't you, going, oh, you in Corrie.
Still, and no matter what you do, it's ex-Coronation Street star, ex-EastEnders star, isn't it? All the same. But, you know, I hold it in great affection. I did it for... I think people think I did it for longer than I did and that it was much less time since I left. You know, but you've got to remember
but you
that...
were in the time when it was 20.
Well, you've got to remember that the time I did it, so I was pregnant with Louis when I left, so that's kind of like 18 years ago, 22 years ago when I started. Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, it was phenomenal. Now, I remember at the time, Tim was doing a series called The Grand, and it was filmed in the blue shed, was the General Chromium Platers round the back of Coronation Street. It was a wonderful series. Tim, Susan Hampshire and Jane Danson, who plays Leanne in Corrie, they were doing this amazing series. And I remember 2 series of it happened, big success, and ITV pulled it because it was only getting 7 million viewers.
Wow.
Now that would be hailed as a huge success, but obviously with all the advent of satellite channels. Anyway, so yeah, it was...
So who are your
a
pals
massive
in
thing.
there? Who are your pals?
It was a very daunting time going into it. Bearing in mind, I was in my late 30s, and I think I have some parallels with Nad, because I was in my late 30s, and I'd done things like Soldier Soldier and Spender, so you know, I was kind of used to people going, oh, are you her off the thingy? But nothing can prime you for what happens when you go into a soap opera. And I went in there, and I like being alone. I'm very happy with my own company, and I need times of aloneness. But being alone and lonely are 2 very different things. And everyone thought I was having this brilliant time, and certainly for the first 3-4 months, I was incredibly lonely. I'd left the Northeast where we'd moved back to. Matty was about 9. And I'd come down to do 17 episodes, which could be done in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, because you do that many. And then they said, would you do some more? Would you do some more? Would you do some more? And all my stuff, a lot of it was filmed. Natalie's house was on location. So on a Sunday, we would go to Chawton and finish, so I could never get home. Plus, everybody in the show pretty much lived in Manchester. And I just kept thinking, is anyone going to invite me for dinner or anything like that? And I just felt really, really lonely for a time. So I always made it a point of mine that when new people came in, I would make sure that they were all right. And I used to say, we need to get like a starter pack going. And also tried to look after the young people, because I could kind of deal with what happened to my life in my late 30s. But for the young people, their life can change very quickly. But I've made lifelong friends. I mean, Sally Whittaker, Sally Dinover, I just saw her the other day. She's one of my great friends. Kevin Kennedy, who played Curly. He was, I mean, he's hysterical. And we both had alcohol issues during our time in Coronation Street, and we kind of helped each other through those times as well. Charlie Lawson is a big, and I think, you know, Charlie was not so long ago on the show. One of my friends that people didn't know how close we were was Annie Kirkbride, who played Deirdre Barlow. I just remember Annie Kirkbride dragging me off to Affleck's Palace in Manchester and making me get my tummy button pierced. And then when I was pregnant, it popped off and I never saw it again. She was hilarious. You know, it was the older people like Eileen Derbyshire, who played Emily Bishop, and Sue Nichols, who plays...
she's fabulous.
She's such a good actress.
Audrey.
I mean, absolutely hilarious. Amanda Barry. I love it when those older people get the storylines, you know.
But one of the things, obviously, you showed the wedding there that was watched by, you know, 100 million people, or something similar. But the one scene, there's one scene that has sort of followed you around, and it was because you were a very naughty lady on Coronation Street and somebody got very cross. Should we have a little look?
Yes, please.
Sally? Yeah? I thought you were in Scarborough.
You might find Kevin at his father's flat. He lives there now. He's moved out and he won't be back. Natalie?
Yeah?
Oh, that looks like the real thing.
And you know, they made us really do that. And poor Sally, because she is the loveliest person in the world.
Very sweet,
Literally
gentle.
kept going.
No,
I won't. But she kept going, I just can't. And we had to say, you've really got to go for it. And of course, that became iconic. I mean, that was front page news, and it was absolutely massive. And
was it sore?
do you know, it was sore. It was really, really sore. But that was a great storyline. It was so brilliant because nobody would ever consider that someone who broke up the Webster's marriage would then go on to be a long-running character. And when I was playing the real bitch, it was fantastic to play. To keep Natalie in the show, they had to soften her to the point that I nearly became Emily Bishop. Do you know what I mean? And then it was, time to go at that time. But it was, I still think that Natalie owns half the garage.
Never been to see it. Now, obviously, I've known you for such a long time. We all have, through your times on Loose before I came on board, and then, you know, you've been in and come back again. And you've always spoken really fondly of your mum.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was funny, you know, because I always used to... my mum was my rock, and she died 7 years, 12 years ago. Yeah, 7 years ago. And she was a great loss. I mean, she used to come down to the show. You'd all met my mum. And the first thing I did after every show was I'd run upstairs and see what my mum had put, going, I'm going to kill you for seeing that. She also knew when I was poorly, when I had my depression, and even if I was sitting here smiling and chatting to guests and everything, I'd go up to my dressing room and my mum would say, you're not well, are you? She could see in my eyes. So I miss her very much, and I think one of my big regrets in life, if I have one, is that she knew I'd stopped drinking 3 weeks before she died, but I would love her to have seen the life I have now, because I was in a dark place for quite a long time. But she did used to say that my TV success at the time ruined it for her, because she'd been a Coronation Street viewer all of her life, and she went, I love it that you're in it, but I just don't believe it anymore.
Did she ever call you Natalie?
But I guess when your own daughter becomes the landlady of the Rovers, you kind of lose the reality of it.
Well, I mean, coming full circle then, Denise, where would you say your life is now? How are you now?
I am great. I'm better than I have been. I'm married to the most wonderful man who is, you know, if you have a soulmate, he's it. We got sober together. And so our sober life enables us to do so much. And it's not just us that it's benefited, it's the ripple effect it has on our families' lives who worried about us when we were in a bit of a state. So I'm still working at 61, which is great. I can pick and choose a bit more. So, yeah, so life is, you know, I still have my illness. I still have severe episodes of depression, but I know how to work through them and to live with them more. And I feel great that 30 years on, we now have much more of an open dialogue about mental illness.
And a lot of that comes from you being so honest.
Thank you.